Okay, so let's dive in. Imagine this. You meet an alien species for the very first time. What's that like? Is it just wonder? Or maybe fear?
Or, and this is where it gets interesting, what if you find out you're suddenly tangled up in some huge, like, galaxy-wide conflict they're already part of?
Yeah, exactly. Or how about this idea from the source's mandatory freedom?
Oh, right. You're told you're free, but it feels like just another layer of control, maybe even sneakier.
That twist alone just makes you question everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And those are just a couple of the ideas we're exploring today in this deep dive. We're looking at excerpts from the book Sozwik by Stephen Parato.
Yeah, we got this material from a listener, actually. They wanted a way to kind of get the essence of this world, the setup, without wading through everything first.
So that's our goal today. We'll walk you through the groundwork laid out in these early parts. We're talking fascinating world building, compelling characters, some really deep mysteries.
We'll pull out the key stuff, the things that really grab you, but and this is important. We're not giving away the ending. We want you to discover where it all goes.
Think of this as getting the context, the flavor, These sources touch on this really unique alien race. They hint at this massive conflict, dive into
And
consciousness.
even spill some surprising secrets about Earth and, well, us, humans.
So we're your guides today, just digging into the source material you sent over, figuring out what really matters here.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
hmm
Meet the Geode. They're the main alien race in these bits, living on a planet called Saren. And what really stands out is their connection to nature. It's deep.
Yeah, it's more than just living near trees. They build with them. These amazing treehouse complexes woven right into the forest. Their gardens aren't rigid. They're like these flowing rivers of plants.
It feels like they're in constant conversation with the natural world. It's symbiotic.
Totally. And it's everywhere in their culture, like the grand table. This huge spiral-shaped table at the center of the village mirrors natural forms.
All right, and then there's Crit. We have to talk about Crit.
Ah, crit. Sounds fascinating. The sources call it a sacred drink, ceremonial, made from fermented tree sap, medicine plants.
It's kind of like a mild intoxicant, an entheogen, and a health tonic all rolled into one. Super important for rituals, rites of passage.
And they even handcraft their own chalices for it, right? Each one unique.
Yeah, it shows that blend of the personal, the sacred, and that nature connection again. And underpinning all this is something called Wakanri.
That feels like the spiritual backbone. Ancient traditions, esoteric knowledge, passed down by Wakans, they sound like spirit walkers, maybe medicine folk.
Sort of, yeah. But the sources are clear. This tradition, this core part of their identity, is fading. It's under threat because
Right.
they're enslaved.
Right, the conflict. That's central here. The Geodes are enslaved by this group called the Guard,
Forced to mine this mineral, Zapiction. The Guard uses it for ship energy.
which is kind of backward, isn't it? The sources mention others use something called UVE, Universal Vacuum Energy.
It's exactly. The Guard seems a bit behind the curve technologically, which is interesting in itself. But before we get deeper into the slavery part, we have to touch on Geode time.
Oh, yes. This part is really mind-bending. It's so different from how we think about time.
It really is one of the standout concepts. They don't see time as a straight line, past to future. For them, it's a spiral, cyclical, like the patterns you see in galaxies, shells, the phi spiral.
And that affects everything, even their math base 12, not base 10, because they feel it fits cosmic patterns better.
Their whole perception is different. Their stories aren't linear. They spiral and weave. And their actual time scale is huge compared to ours. A Jodi day is over 50 Earth hours.
And a year is like 10 Earth years. And
Yeah.
they live for 1,000 Earth years equivalent.
Roughly, yeah. Imagine experiencing life on that time scale. And it connects to this idea of the eternal now.
Where past, present, future all kind of exist at once.
Precisely. Incarnating isn't moving along a timeline. It's shifting your focus within that timeless whole. It completely flips the script on reality.
So you have this deeply connected, philosophical, long-lived race. And they get enslaved. How did that happen?
The Guard showed up about 4 generations before Sozwik's time. There was apparently a violent rebellion at first, but it was crushed. Then the Guard put up this massive force field fence, boxing them into their valley.
So the Jodi had to adapt. They went underground, trying to keep their culture alive secretly.
Right, and the Guard didn't just use fences. They used programming, psychological stuff. So much so that by Sozwik's generation, many Jodis just saw enslavement as normal, just the way life is.
That's maybe the most disturbing part. Accepting bondage as normal shows how deep the control went.
Yeah, it wasn't just physical chains. Which brings us to Sozwik, our main character in these sections. young but wise for his age.
His parents were Anda, a famous designer, and Macha, the Geode jester.
Yeah, apparently used humor to make the mining hell a bit more tolerable. Sozwik comes from this background, but he's special. He's one of the few freed and sent to Earth.
But there's a catch. He was in the Guard's top rank program. Heavy indoctrination.
Heavy stuff. Daily sessions, holographic screens, building on years of earlier programming. But, and this is key, he was also secretly being trained in walkenry.
By Goa, the elder who faked his own death.
That's the one. Clever, mischievous, kept the walkenry flame alive. And he taught Sozwik how to fight back against the programming.
How? How do you fight something like that?
With walk-on practices. Goa gave him strategies. Sozwik learned to block the psychic intrusion during those sessions. But it wasn't just defense.
What else?
He'd actively go into his own mind, his memories, like exploring rooms in a maze, the sources say. And he'd battle these hideous demons that represented the Guard's implants.
Wow, an actual internal war.
Yeah, exhausting, dangerous work, risking his consciousness mutating. But Goa's voice, his guidance, helped him through it.
So he arrives on Earth, supposedly free, but he's already won this massive internal battle just to be himself.
Exactly, which makes this whole freedom on Earth thing feel complicated.
So why Earth? Why send a select few Geode there?
The sources suggest a few reasons. Earth was similar enough to Saren, their homeworld, lots of untouched wilderness. But it wasn't kindness.
No, it was a Guard ploy, right?
Seems so. A way to study free-roaming Geode. And maybe offer some kind of cruel, hopeless hope to the ones still enslaved back on Saren. Plus, the Guard apparently thought humans and Geode wouldn't mix, staying in their separate zones, urban versus wilderness.
And maybe using remote parts of Earth for their own secret projects too, underground bases and stuff.
That's hinted at as well. So Sozwik arrives, his ship comes out of a purple sky. He sees Earth, this beautiful blue-green planet.
What's it like when he lands?
It's described as pure, childlike wonder at first. He lands somewhere, beautiful snow-capped mountain, serene forest. He feels this deep connection, instinct guiding him. Like just moving through the trees brings him closer to his essence.
But that can't last.
No. The novelty wears off. He remembers that Guard is probably tracking him. He knows he needs to do something, find information, find others. But he's alone, doesn't know where he is beyond Earth.
And then things start getting weird. His encounters.
Yeah, first, a human. He hears a loud crack, sees a man in the woods. Sozwik feels fear, but also this strange, kinship. Tries to send thoughts of peace.
How does the human react?
Terrified. Runs off. And Sozwik has this perception of humans as out of place in nature.
Yeah.
Almost like they're not suited for their own planet outside the cities.
Which leads to a ton of questions for him.
Right. Are humans related to Geode? What happened to their connection to nature? Why do they seem kind of helpless out here? Where are their big nature-integrated studies? Does the Guard just let humans wander free? And crucially, where are the other Geode who were sent here?
Suddenly, humanity itself is a huge puzzle piece in this bigger story.
Definitely. And then comes the really strange encounter, the glowing plant.
He follows a scent, finds this bush with glowing blue balls on it.
Something like that. And he connects his consciousness to it. The plant talks to him or communicates somehow.
Okay, wow. What does a talking plant say?
It senses he's vulnerable, tells him to find his own kind, calls the Geode thoughtful and kind-hearted, and then it drops this bombshell. The world, humans, Guard, slavery, freedom, it's all a game.
A game.
Yeah. Advises him to mostly let things play out, but sometimes you have to do something.
Yeah.
And it confirms his fear. The Guard is watching him.
A philosophical glowing plant confirming he's being tracked in a cosmic game. That's a lot.
No kidding. It pushes him. He knows he has to connect with other Geode through the vision space, which is hard from Earth.
So how does he manage it?
He remembers Goa's teachings about intuition. He asks a tree for help finding the right plants to make crit.
The sacred drink. Does the tree answer?
Seems like it. It advises him to heighten his awareness, trust which plant calls to him. He finds sap, sets up a little makeshift lab, brews crit.
And the crit works.
It does.
Yeah.
Helps him access the vision space. He finds this back door and connects not just with Earth Geode he didn't know, like someone called Uncle Palpo, but also Geode back on Serenolea, Fala.
But Goa isn't there.
Strangely, no. Not who he expected. Anyway, they share info in this vision space meeting. The Earth Geodes are kind of lonely. Watching humans is like a hobby.
They confirm the Guard is tracking him.
Yep, through his top rank badge. But they've learned tricks to dodge detection, being unpredictable. Apparently, it makes the guard nervous when they lose the signal.
And Palpo drops some major knowledge bombs, right, from a human shaman.
Huge ones. This shaman told Palpo about the guard's history on Earth. A race called Trakuls, or Naki, needed gold. Created humans by mixing their DNA with apes. Engineered the dinosaur extinction with a meteor.
Whoa, wait. Humans engineered by aliens for gold mining?
That's the story Palpo got. And the shaman described the guard as more than just physical beings. They're like vision space parasites, feeding on consciousness, using mental slavery, deception.
And something called the squeeze.
Yeah, creating scarcity, energy, money. Keep people desperate and controllable. The shaman saw humans as like domesticated dogs compared to Jody's wild wolves, but there was hope for both.
How? What's the key?
Love, basically, versus the guard's fear. The guard's whole power relies on tricking people into giving up their own power. But Palpo admits they don't know how to break free yet. They need more info. A rebellion is needed, but they don't know what kind.
And the vision space itself is getting unstable, glitchy.
Yeah, because of the guard's influence. Palpo and the others haven't been able to connect consistently.
Man, that connects the Jody struggle right to the human experience, scarcity, manipulation, hidden histories.
It really grounds the cosmic conflict. And just as Sozwik is reeling from all that, he has another massive vision space encounter with Aurora.
Aurora, who's also Jenny, the human woman he saw in the car.
Exactly. He's pulled into this imperial state, out of body, meets her, and the connection is instant, profound, like they've known each other forever.
That happens.
They embrace, memories flood them, shared past lives, different forms, binary stars, dolphins, a Viking, and his love, swimming. It's described as becoming one soul, one spirit, pure bliss, love, awe, communicating through feeling.
And they transform into spirit dragons.
Yeah. Sozwik, orange, yellow, and turquoise. Aurora, indigo, and gold. Then they fuse into this heavenly flower. A being of divine perfection, literally birthing blueprints for universes. It's epic.
And in that state, they learn about each other's lives.
Everything relevant. He learns Jenny is psychic, but society and the guard suppressed her abilities. Meditation brought them back. She felt watched, leaned into it, got her own info dump about the guard, similar to Palpo's.
Overwhelming for her, I bet.
Totally. No context. But meeting Sozwik, this union, made it all crystal clear for her.
But the danger's still there.
Oh, yeah. Aurora tells him she felt watched for months, thought she saw a black car following her right before she saw Sozwik. She realizes the guard is tracking both of them now, tells them they have to be vigilant.
That warning right after that incredible connection, chilling.
And then, just like that,
Yeah.
it's over. She's ripped away.
Pulled back to her body. Something interrupted her meditation.
Seems like it. Fear surges through Sozwik, and bam, he crashes back into his own body. Panicked.
Only to...
He's paralyzed. Being dragged down a corridor on a ship by a Harka, one of the guard's enforcers. Total helplessness. Then he uses his walk-on training, calms himself down.
Where do they take him?
Before a high-ranking Trakul commander. Remember the Trakuls, the ones who supposedly engineered humans.
Right. What does the commander say?
Taunts him. Says they know he's been troublemaking. Surprised he didn't just accept the freedom like the others. Mentions a Mind Reaper machine. Things look really bad for Sozwik.
But meanwhile, back on Saren...
Goa, the council, Sozwik's parents, they're holding a vigil for him in the vision space. And suddenly, Sozwik manages to break through, like crashing through the ceiling of their meeting.
He made it back to the vision space, even while captured.
Briefly, yeah. They're relieved, but no time is short. Goa reveals his desperate plan, using the force field fences somehow. He remembers Sozwik mentioning a secret passage years ago. Asks him if it's real.
And it is.
Sozwik confirms. Found it under a cliff. Old, maybe ancestor-made. Narrow, fits only 2 people side by side. Another Jyoti, Wogo, remote views it, confirms there's an exit. That's the missing piece for Goa's escape plan.
They work out the details right there, in the vision space.
Instantly. Collective communication. And they act immediately back on Saren. Elders deprogram the youth, gather everyone.
Does everyone go?
Not everyone. Some refuse. The sources say freedom was actually scarier than slavery for them, shows how insidious the guard's control was. But most go.
So the tribe starts escaping through this narrow passage.
2 single-file lines, moving through the dark, described as chasing out the darkness, shedding trauma, heading into a protective gorge.
While Sozwik is still on the ship, paralyzed.
He was. But while the tribe is escaping, he's working non-physically, whacking training. Clears his mind, feels his benevolent energy, surrenders to it, breaks through some kind of ethereal smokescreen.
And finds the back door to the vision space again.
Yes. Rejoins Goa and the Council just long enough to confirm the passage exists. Goa starts explaining the logistics, how to get everyone through fast.
But he gets pulled out again.
Abruptly. Leaves the others shocked. He lands hard back in his body on the ship floor. But he's not paralyzed anymore.
Oh.
The Tra'kul is stunned. Sozwik apparently withstood the Mind Reaper. Sozwik figures the tribe's escape, that massive energy shift, must have helped him break free.
And then...
Alarms go off. He fights a Harka, gets out of the ship just as it crashes. He survives.
Yeah.
Seems like he's the only one from the ship.
Wow, what an escape. But he's left with so many questions.
Totally. How did he break the paralysis? Did the Tra'kul tell anyone? What was that weird mantis thing connected to the machine? How exactly did the tribe's escape affect him? He's alone again on this alien planet after all that. Aimless.
So, okay, let's recap what these excerpts set up, because it's a lot and it's really compelling.
Definitely. You've got Sozwik's journey, this young Geode fighting against incredible odds, both internal programming and external enemies. You've got the whole Geode culture, their connection to nature, thought, speak, the vision space. It's fascinating.
Then there's the Guard. Chillingly effective villains. Parasitic control, deep psychological manipulation, this hidden influence on potentially galactic, maybe even human history.
And the mysteries surrounding Earth. Humanity's origins, our potential, the way the Guard might be manipulating us, plus these incredibly deep non-physical connections, like with Aurora.
And it all culminates in this duel escape the tribe breaking free on Saren, Sozwik escaping the ship on Earth, high stakes, edge-of-your-seat stuff.
But it feels very much like the end of the beginning. The setup is complete. The core conflict is established. Sozwik is free. The tribe is free. But now what?
Exactly. What happens to Sozwik now? Where does the tribe go? How do they possibly fight back against an enemy like the Guard? What's the deal with humans? What about Aurora?
So many questions left hanging, which is, I think, the point of these excerpts.
Yeah.
They hook you.
Absolutely. This deep dive, just looking at these setup pieces, shows how rich this world is. It really makes you want to know what happens next.
It leaves you thinking too, doesn't it? Like that question the glowing plant raised. If so much is about control and deception, where is real freedom found?
Yeah, how do you even navigate that? Especially if the game is rigged. What does it take to break free, truly?
Well, to get the answers to those questions and see where Sozwik's journey goes, you'll need to check out the source material itself.
The book is Sozwik, and if you want to find out more, the place to go is sozwik.com.